Good afternoon, everyone. Just seeing a couple of numbers coming in, so I think it's probably best that we get started. So first of all, I just want to say a massive welcome to the Machine Intelligence Garage Retailer Marketing Showcase. We're very excited to be hosting this session, to have all of you attending virtually today. We're also very excited to have the startups who are going to be showcasing their pitches later on. And we're also very excited for the panelists that we have for our fireside chat later on and all the insights that are going to come out of that. So just while we begin, a couple of bits of housekeeping. You'll probably notice that this session is being recorded. This is purely for the purpose of resharing with all of you afterwards. This will also benefit those who cannot attend today so that we can share that with them as well. You're probably all familiar with Zoom virtual environments by now, but just as a reminder, this is a Zoom webinar, so you will notice that your camera and your microphone will remain off for the duration of this showcase, but you are more than welcome to utilize the Q&A function. We do advise questions throughout the session, as well as any comments. We'll also be sharing some useful resources in the chat window, so make sure you keep an eye on that in the background. Perfect. So just to kick off, a couple of introductions from the Digital Catapult team. So to start with myself, I'm Imogen Hyde. I'm the Innovation Delivery Manager at Digital Catapult, and my role is focused purely on the Machine Intelligence Garage. So that's very much to do with the delivery of the program and much to do with the success of it as well.
Hi all, welcome to the event. I'm Ola Lela. I'm an innovation coordinator here at Digital Catapult, and I support in the day-to-day running of the Machine Intelligence Garage program.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nastasia Velasco. I'm the AI and Distributed System Innovation Partner, supporting all the industry players in the acceleration of adoption of digital technologies.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Pierre Bell. I am Head of Innovation for AI and Distributed Systems at the Catapult, otherwise known as Distributed Ledger Technologies. And very warm welcome to everybody. I'm going to start by just giving you an overview of who we are before we start the session. Before then, actually, going through the agenda will be useful. Thank you, Imogen. After the introduction, we're going to hear from pitches from startups that have been on the MI Garage already. And you will hear from Kadira, New Current, AI Static, and Cats AI. I hope I said these names right. I know there are several pronunciations for some of them. It's going to be followed by a fireside chat with Isaac from Amara and Hamish from Nvidia. And the point is going to be to go with them around insights, key trends, barriers, challenges, opportunities within the retail and marketing sectors. And then we will close that fireside chat, close the event with some remarks, and we aim at an end of event at 4:45. So, Digital Catapult, who are we? We are an organization that is partly public funded, and our mission is to accelerate the adoption of emerging technologies to drive growth and opportunity across the economy. We focus on UK businesses, and we cover several technologies, not just AI, so I think it was worth going through that for the sake of attendance today. We can go to the next slide. And there we go. So we cover these technologies. The first one is future networks. That entails high frequency networks such as 5G and low frequency networks such as LP1, Sigfox for those in the audience that know about them. It also entails everything IoT related. Then we cover immersive technologies, everything that is AR, VR, but also sound immersive technologies, which is quite something we are trying to explore at the moment. Artificial intelligence, obviously, so that's why you're here today. And then distributed systems, so what you will know, blockchain-based technologies and distributed ledgers. We focus we divide the work in two big verticals. So one is creative industries, the other one is manufacturing industries. Obviously, it doesn't mean that the technologies are going to be distributed on one or the other. We just try to organize ourselves to address sectors because, again, we think that's a better way to serve the impact on the British economy. In creative industries, we're going to find a lot of culture and content creation related topics. Manufacturing, we have obviously manufacturing factory lines, supply chains, production, and I would say that what is important to remember is that the wide and the spectrum of what the Catapult covers is really big. We also have this opportunity to cross-pollinate those two sectors, and it is often that one use case or one solution or one technology will fit really well both verticals. So we will try to take our clients, stakeholders, investors into a journey that helps them understand from a sector they have no clue about. And how we do this, or what do we do? So we build and operate physical and digital facilities. We have physical labs, for example, but we've also got started programs such as MI Garage that we are talking about today. We design and deliver innovation programs nationwide, so not just only for London-based startups or London being the range of it. And then we convene and collaborate on research and development. That entails many missions, including doing some consultancy. We have commercial clients, corporates talking to us on how they could adopt the technology better. Now, in terms of beneficiaries and our stakeholders, well, we've got quite a sweet position because we sit at the center of the ecosystem. And I would say that we interact with all of these stakeholders in quite a privileged way, because our position needs to remain neutral. And we are agnostic in the way we will push and support technology application. And it's a great thing because not only it helps us once again think about the relevance of it, but also it helps us think about how to best adopt these technologies. And you will hear a lot about ethics today, and that is, for example, something we are really well placed to be doing. All right, so some examples of our digital technology facilities. So MI Garage is obviously one of them. Historically, the first one, because AI was the first technology covered by the Catapult. We've got a really cool Future Networks lab in the office, 101 Euston Road. If you're in London, go book an appointment and visit this. It's full of demonstrators around future networks, IoT devices. It's also a prototyping workshop, and we have startups demoing and prototyping in this facility. We also have the 5G Brighton testbed and dome, which is again a testbed for 5G located in Brighton. And then in immersive technologies, we've got the reality capture studio and some immersive labs where, again, if you're in London, please book an appointment and come get exposure to all the great technologies that are available already in the market for these technologies. And just to finish on the Catapult quickly, we are London-based, but we want to drive adoption and impact as a consequence nationwide. So we have sister Catapults across the country, and also starting to build teams locally elsewhere. So have a look at the website. If you're not London-based, I think it's really interesting to try and see who you could connect with closer to home, and we will be happy to help you and support you in the adoption of those technologies. Thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to Imogen, who's going to present us the MI Garage in a bit more detail.
Thank you, Pierre. So just a little context as to why we're all here today and why the startups are here and how they've all come to be in this virtual environment today. So Machine Intelligence Garage, what is this? So in 2017, a survey was sent out to the startup ecosystem from UK government, and that survey found that 60% of these startups agreed that they were compute constrained, and this was their main barrier to adoption. So as a result, the MI Garage was born, and it is now Digital Catapult's flagship AI accelerator, and we aim to support AI and machine learning stage startups who are very early in their development. We're very pleased to say that we have helped 129 startups across multiple industries to date. This number is continually growing because we host 3 cohorts per year, with one of those cohorts being a themed cohort. So in the past, we have run a creative cohort, and in the coming months, we're going to be launching a manufacturing-based cohort, which my colleague Ola will touch on in just a moment. So how do we want to support these startups? So we split it up into 3 pillars. The first being providing business and investment support. The second, providing technical support through our technology teams at Digital Catapult, but also through providing compute credits through our partners such as AWS and GCP. And then we also support our startups through our ethics program, which is all centered around helping them to develop responsible AIs. So in those 3 pillars, we have launched some information about them recently through our impact report, which you can find on our website. But we've got some amazing statistics on the screen that you can see here, and there's something that we're really proud of, that £52 million worth of investment has been raised by participants of the MI Garage. We have provided over £7.2 million worth of compute power. And we're very pleased that the startups are pleased with the ethics program, because 76% of those agree that ethics is a consistent aspect of their decision-making process as an organization. So the main program objectives, we support these early stage startups. We would love them to develop new products and services based on the support that we provide them. Obviously, the increase in revenue for startups is great. We'd love them to grow their team. Typically, they range from between 5 to 10 employees. So more employees means more growth. And the ultimate goal for most of these startups is to receive investment. So we support them on that journey as well. So on that, I will hand over to Ola, and she will give a little more context to our other pillars.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Imogen. So a couple years back, the ethics committee and the steering board was formed to empower organizations to put principles of ethical AI and machine learning into practice. This committee, which is chaired by Luciano Floridi, who's a professor and director of the Digital Ethics Lab at University of Oxford, provides ethical support across multiple touchpoints throughout the program. This ethics committee, they're made up of experienced individuals ranging from academia to many diverse industry backgrounds. Just to name a few names on the committee, there is Dame Wendy Hall, who is a member of the newly formed AI Council and is the chair for the Ada Lovelace Institute. We also have got Maurice Kyodo, who is a research mathematician with 2 PhDs in the field, and he's the co-founder and lead at the Cambridge University Ethics in Mathematics project. We've also had some recent new additions to the committee, such as Sam Brown, who is a business coach and co-founder at Consequential. She's previously led the Responsible Innovation Program at Everyone, where she created the consequence scanning practice. So I haven't mentioned everyone, but all of these ethics committee members here have worked together to develop the ethics framework. And this consists of 7 main points and guiding questions that helps organizations navigate through their ethical reflections and actions. And on the base of this framework, on MI Garage, we offer ethics consultations with 2 ethics committee members present to all the startups on the program. And we also offer ethical deep dives. And these deep dives are a 12-month process where 2 ethics committee members work with the startup team to create an ethical roadmap and then work to implement it throughout consultations, workshops, and a final report at the end of the 12 months. Great, so moving on, here you can see the incredible partners that we have on the program. There are some names that you'll most likely recognize, such as AWS and Google Cloud, which provide cloud compute credits. Imogen's already mentioned ERDF and CAPI as our funding partners earlier on, but we also have the Information Commissioner's Office on board, also known as the ICO, who provide office hours and advise startups regarding considerations around data protection and its implications. We also partner with various hardware and high compute facilities across the UK, such as GraphCore, EPCC, Hartree Centre, Cerebras, Lighton, Spinnaker, Earlham Institute, and as well Nvidia, who we are really happy to be hosting as part of our Fireside Chat during today's event. You can find out more information on each partner on our website as well if you're curious. So across the program, as Imogen's mentioned, we onboard 3 cohorts of startups a year. Each year, one of those cohorts is themed. Coming up soon is our next themed cohort in Industrial Net Zero. For this cohort, we are looking for AI-first startups that are working to face the challenges in the manufacturing sector as it transitions to net zero. The focus will be in industrial operations, so we will be looking out for startups that are reducing material waste, for example, or reducing on-site energy use, or overall increasing efficiency for in-factory production. The open call for the Industrial Net Zero cohort is beginning soon on the 6th of December. On our website, you'll find that the applications show as they're currently closed, but you can already register your interest to be notified when the applications begin. And I'll just hand over the mic back over to Pierre.
Thank you very much. And indeed, if you're a startup and you're interested in more info or just applying, I strongly encourage you to do so. Right, before we start the pitches, I thought I would just set context very quickly. Why did we decide to hold this event? And it's mainly because we've held this creative cohort last year, and we were also conducting some work with clients as the Catapult outside of American Garage, but touching the retail sector for quite some time. And we kept hearing an appetite for adopting AI, but we also kept hearing the same barriers. So we thought it would be a good thing to bring that as a topic, and also to bring the light on the startups we've worked with, and we are really proud to have done good progress with. I have put this very rhetorical question here: AI as a must for retail and marketing. I think there has been a trend where AI is not really the question; it's more how to adopt it in this sector. And it is such a wide sector that marketing being a way to curtail the topic for today is probably a good thing, because if you talk about the supply chain management or any other industrial challenge that is not specifically marketing related, this type of event will be very interesting too, but probably take a lot longer. I just wanted to bring three points. One is that through our startups and clients, we keep hearing that in their eyes, AI is a good way to allow more meaningful relationships with customers. And we hear that from the content production within marketing, but also from retailers who are trying to target better their customers. And that leads into one observation as well, that is that COVID has impacted heavily the retail sector. This sector is still trying to get back on its feet, and targeting the right customer, doing more with less, is more capital, more crucial than ever. So there is an imperative behind it, and we think about all the solutions that can enhance on the other end the experience for the customer and the customer journey. And the last point will obviously be around ethics. More data is collected, more data is processed and used. Influence marketing is here for like the best and the worst sometimes. And so not only we need to be supporting those companies in unbiasing data sets or having great considerations for those topics early on. It's also about what kind of future we want to have for the whole sector, and what kind of marketing we want to build, so it is really enhancing our societies and the way we consume. So I'm going to leave these questions up in the air for people to think about. We're going to probably have them coming back in the Fireside Chat later on. And for now, I wish you a very good pitch session, and over to you, Imogen.
Thank you, Pierre. That was really good food for thought. So the next part of the event I'm actually really excited about. We've got 4 amazing pitches from startups who have been involved in the MI Garage from all different cohorts across all different years, and it's a real good collective. So I'm very excited for this. So just want to let you know that after each of the pitches, we'll be launching a poll onto the screen via Zoom. So if you would like to get in touch with any of the CEOs or the founders that you will see on the screen today pitching, then please just tick the yes box, and Digital Catapult more than happy to facilitate an introduction to those after the session. So without further ado, I hand over to Sebastian, who is the CEO of Kadira. So what they are is a product search tool for retailers. and he will probably do it more justice than me. So Sebastian, if you're happy to share your screen, I will let you go ahead. Thank you.
Here you go. Just a quick confirmation. Sound and screen are visible.
All good, thank you. Perfect.
Thank you very much. My name is Sebastian Spiegler. I'm the CEO and founder of Cadira. We are an AI-powered product search and discovery engine, and we are part of the Machine Intelligence Garage, the 13th cohort. I'm an avid vintage furniture collector, and I spend a lot of time online. And I saw a massive problem here. What do you do if you search for something? You've seen it before, you've seen it somewhere, and you don't know what it's called, and you don't know exactly what you're looking for. And I was really frustrated during that process of search, and I realized I'm not alone here. So let me ask you one question here. If we can redesign the way we search for products and discover products, how would we go about it? Would this be a search box? Would we type in keywords? And would we then scroll through hundreds of results, hoping to find the right product here? And at the end, we may get to it or not. Would this be the case? Probably not. My background is in artificial intelligence, and I've worked in several deep tech startups, and I decided to tackle exactly that problem here. Today, we are a team of PhDs and domain experts, and we decided to work on product discovery and product search and basically take this to the next level. We are ex-Swiftly, ex-Microsoft, ex-IBM. Let's step back for a moment and actually look at the big picture here. There are 2 billion people shopping online every day today. They're spending $10 million every second. That's $5 trillion every year. And COVID has accelerated the push to online shopping. Consumers have become more sophisticated. They have mobile phones with cameras in their pockets pretty much all the time. Visual is part of their daily lives. On the other hand, we're still searching, typing in keywords into those search bars and hope to find the right product. This hasn't changed for the last 2 decades, and we know that keyword search is broken. A recent study by Google that asked 10,000 customers and 200 businesses has revealed that about 3/4 of consumers abandon search after one unsuccessful attempt. About half of them purchase the item somewhere else, and 2/3 of the website managers of the retailers don't actually have a clear plan for improvement. This leads to $300 billion lost opportunity, and this is just for the US. So the question to the retailers in the audience is, where do you stand today? Do you know whether your customers are happy with the search? So let me describe in more detail what we do at Cadira. And let's take Lisa as an example here. So Lisa browses, she clicks, she likes, she buys products on the retailer website. And by doing so, she builds up a product list. Cadira takes this product lists, analyzes it with computer vision and machine learning, and extracts preferences. And on the other side, you see the retailer. And here we capture inherent information from the products and their attributes and their relationships as well. So all of this ranges from color, material, style, shape to design. And when Lisa now looks for a specific product, let's imagine an armchair, the one we see in the middle, she finds it more easily, more quickly. We filter those hundreds of results for her and show her the most relevant products and the most relevant and likely ones she will buy. By doing so, the customer journey becomes more satisfying. Lisa is more likely to buy, and she's more likely to return. So how does this work for e-commerce? Fundamentally, we do 3 things. Auto tagging. We analyze the inventory and we analyze the product images. We produce relevant metadata and make products more easily searchable and findable. Secondly, multimodal search. Here, we basically allow the user, the consumer, to use different modes, meaning images, text, preferences, and other modes. And then thirdly, recommendation. Here we allow the consumer to go back and forth between visually and semantically similar products, find alternatives when they explore. But what does it mean for the retailer themselves? Today, there's a push away from third-party data. So we allow retailers to collect zero-party and first-party data. Zero-party data as data directly as feedback from consumers, and first-party data as data from observations. This means we can increase the conversion by 5 to 15%. We can increase the average order volume by 10 to up to 25%, and we can increase the number of returning customers by up to 50%. But let's dive a little bit deeper. And some of you in the audience may realize that we borrowed some images from your inventory here. So we use the latest advances in computer vision and natural language processing, and we extract all relevant information from your product inventory and imagery. We add this information to images, we find attributes. So we increase the metadata that describe those products. At the same time, we look at scenes, at product scenes, and we find objects there. We link those objects to the products in your inventory. We make those scenes shoppable. You'd be surprised to hear that a lot of this is still done manually by a lot of retailers today. Multimodal search, searching with images, searching with text, searching by your preferences. Let's take Luke as an example here. Luke is a mobile shopper. He has his mobile phone in his pocket all the time. He walks past this desk chair on the left and he thinks, oh, I'd like to buy this chair. He takes an image and uses this image to search for a product on your website. You as a retailer, you want to be able to serve the most similar or identical products to Luke as quickly as possible. And then on top of that, you would also want to allow Luke to explore visually and semantic similar products. And then thirdly, recommendation. And here we go back to Lisa. Lisa is now looking for a sofa and she really likes the one on the top left. But as soon as she clicks on the sofa, she finds out it's sold. What can she do? So what we do here as Qadira is we provide her with a semantic and visually similar sofa, the one on the bottom left. And at the same time, while Lisa is browsing the sofa, we can show her relevant coffee tables and table lamps because we know that these are semantically related to the sofa and we know Lisa's preferences as well. And this works for various subverticals of retail. So we can look at art, we can look at fashion, we can look at home appliances and so on. This example here is Lisa taking an image of a room. We analyze the room, we analyze the style, we find the color scheme, and we can show her relevant art pieces or artwork she may buy. Let me share with you a case study with one of our customers. This customer is a large marketplace for vintage and antique furniture. They have 200,000 products at every point of time. They add 20 to 25,000 products every month, new products. They have 2,000 sellers and they have 1 million monthly active users. So one of their challenges is the inventory ingest. The upload process is lengthy. It takes 24 hours. It takes up to 4 review steps, and it requires a small army of freelancers to do the job. We managed to automate this process down to a few seconds and cut the cost by 2/3. The second example, another challenge they have is their customers or potential customers search for products on Google. And they find a product, they click on it, they come to their website. Again, the product is sold or it's not right because it's the wrong size or for other reasons. The customers usually go, or the users usually go back to Google and search again. So what we can do here is we can provide product alternatives on the product description page and increase the engagement. In conclusion, we are Qadira. We provide AI-powered product search and discovery. This is auto-tagging, multimodal search and recommendation. We enable retailers to collect zero and first-party data, increase their conversion rate, increase their average order volume, increase the number of returning customers. Our technology can be applied to many domains, including home, including art, including fashion and manufacturing. Let us show you how we can help with your customer journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. That was great. Also, of course, a big and massive thank you for going first and starting us off. I know that's not always the easiest. So as a reminder, we'll now be running a poll. So if you'd like to meet with Sebastian and the Qadira team, please respond to the poll that is on the screen now. will take a few seconds before we move on, but just as a reminder, we will be facilitating these introductions following the event. So please make sure to let us know if you'd like to meet with them. Great, and in the meantime, while we're getting the votes in on the poll, Bogdan, if you'd like to set up your presentation, and I can introduce our next startup. All right, I guess a few more seconds, but we are going to move on now from a retail company to a marketing-focused company called New Current, who were also part of Emma Garage's 13th cohort. So New Current allows marketers to create personalized recommendations and customer engagements using AI. I'll now hand it over to Bogdan, who can definitely tell us a lot more than just what I said in one sentence.
Can you hear me? Can you see my presentation?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Then I will start. Okay, I'm Bogdan, co-founder of New Current. I like that today's speakers ask quite a few questions from the audience. So I want to add another one. Do you, as a retailer, engage with your customers directly on all channels in a personalized way? I'm asking this question because the largest innovative retailers already do it, and they get 10% of sales increase or higher. However, from our experience, there are two major constraints for mid-sized retailers. One is a sheer complexity of dealing with data and data management, and the second one is a lack of expertise in data-driven marketing. So our goal here at New Current is to help mid-sized retailers to overcome those complexities. We provide an AI-driven customer engagement platform. We also have a team of experts with a lot of experience in data-driven marketing, customer retention, data analysis, and also design and content creation. Our platform has three modules: data management, personalized recommendation engine, and then omni-channel communication module. The absolute key and foundation of everything we do is our data management and infrastructure. We collect data from all sources, we merge it and create a single customer profile. We store this data in one place using BigQuery, and we also connect it to multiple communication providers, and it is easy to add a new one. Whether you want to personalize your website, or you want to prevent your customers from exiting, or you want just to speak to your audiences, our recommendation and communication modules have required functionality for you to do so. I want to give you a couple of live examples. So your new customer visits the website, the customer browses for a while without ordering. At this point, you're probably quite likely to lose this customer. Our platform and gamified interface allows you to create customer engagements which would follow customer actions on the website. So in this particular case, the platform will request a promo code from your ERP system. It will check the budget, and then it will display a personalized banner with a promo code directly to your customer on the website. The customer is quite likely now to click and convert. Another example, you want to communicate with your audiences. You can select a standard predefined audience from our platform, or you can create your own using your own data analysis. Your customers might have access to several communication channels. You can use it. You can create the fast communication using email, and then create follow-up communication using mobile push notifications. It allows you to send relevant information to your audiences about your brand, recent trends, and product selections. Okay, one thing which is important thing, even with all functionality in the world, unfortunately, you can't do data-driven marketing on autopilot. You have to analyze data, you have to test your hypothesis, and then you have to execute. If you have a team to do it, great. If you don't, our customer retention team is here to help. We perform customer segmentation specific to your business. We create customer engagement strategy with a specific business goal in mind, and then we execute, doing design, content, and performance management. Okay, I want to share with you some of our success stories and case studies. Two of our clients, and they're both in Ukraine because that's where we are originally from. One is the largest online books retailer in Ukraine with 2.5 million website visits per month. The other one, the leading toys retailer with a large online presence as well. Both of them had the same strategy, and that is to use customer data to the best possible advantage in their customer communications. They asked Newcurrent to help. First, using our recommendation engine, we personalized their main page. We created cross-selling and upselling opportunities on the product and cart pages. And we also created recommendation blogs which help customers to search and look for items on their website. We consistently now get 14% and higher of sales uplifts from their websites. Our customer retention team completely changed the way how communications were done. I will give you one example. Our client was sending one promo communication to 300,000 people, all registered for their loyalty program. I think it's quite needless to say that for the vast majority of those people, this communication was completely useless and irrelevant. We performed customer segmentation, data-driven customer segmentation. We identify much smaller segments by people's customers' interests, and we send 2 promo communications to smaller segments of 30,000 each. And by doing that, we doubled the revenue. And this is not all. We're also transforming the business process of how communications are done. So now we have 15 customer segments for this specific client. Our designer is doing one communication template. Then the platform matches product discounts and promos with each segment. The platform personalizes template for each segment. And then the platform sends 2 weekly communications to each segment. By doing that, we simplify the process, we increase sales, and we reduce cost. Okay, that's been a short presentation, and at the end of it, I want to come back to my original question. Omnichannel customer engagement, direct through all channels in a personalized way. If you're not doing them, or maybe not doing them effectively, is it worth asking why not? Thank you very much. And I want to say a special thank you to Digital Catapult for this quite unique opportunity that they gave us to present. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Bogdan. It's a pleasure to have you here. Great presentation. Thank you so much. As before, we'll have a poll launching onto your screen. So if you'd like to get in touch with Bogdan, please respond to that. I'm sure he'll love to have conversations with anybody on this call.
Okay, I'm going now on mute. Is it correct?
Yes, please. Thank you so much again. Perfect. And if you can stop, perfect. There we go. Okay, while the poll is finishing, I will introduce our third startup that we have today. So this will be AI Static, who are part of one of our past theme cohorts. I believe it was cohort 9. And they are focused on helping people to have better fitted clothing. Personally, as being only 5'2", I think this is the absolute dream. So on that note, I'll hand over to you, Duncan.
Hi, can you see me okay?
All good.
Fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Duncan Mackay. I'm CEO and founder of AI Aesthetic. I was fortunate to live in Italy a few years ago. And until that point, I couldn't find clothing that fitted me. And I don't consider myself particularly unique. I was introduced to a tailor and I never looked back. I ordered one made-to-measure shirt and then subsequently 8 shirts. And that got me thinking, what if every person could be measured digitally? What if every person could order clothes online that perfectly fitted them when they arrived at your door? At AI Aesthetic, we do accurate 3D body reconstruction from smartphones. And our technology has use cases and value in online fitness, weight loss, and digital health. But our first target market is online clothing. And the opportunity in online clothing is huge. It's a $500 billion market globally and is growing at 22% this year. But there are costly problems, and online clothing has costly problems that are more pressing than before, impacted by COVID-19. The first of which is high levels of return. So 25% of clothing in the UK is returned. The reason being is that shoppers tell us they can't tell if it will fit. And that has a financial cost to retailers, costing twice as much to actually process a return as it does to deliver it. A second big problem is a lot of customers, actually 90% of them, are abandoning purchases. A key frustration here is they can't actually try it on before they purchase the item, purchase the clothing. And a third significant problem is there's excess inventory. It's a crazy amount of inventory. And that's linked to the fact that actually brands and retailers don't have often a granular understanding of their customers' shape and sizes and an ability to match those up to the shapes and sizes of their actual clothing to ensure that that's optimized, to avoid the situation where you have excess inventory and if you don't sell it, well, you've got to discount it and then you've got to write it down, which then impacts profitability. So we're addressing these market opportunities or problems with a B2B solution. And it's a white label licensing solution addressing first, returns with accurate digital reconstruction and measurement. Second, abandonment through visualization to drive up conversion and consumer confidence. And the third is excess inventory by providing data and customer shape analysis to enable and facilitate that matching of inventory to the specific shopper and shoppers. Ultimately, to save retailers and brands costs, to save shoppers time, and reduce the environmental impact and inefficiency of some of these problems. So our world-leading technology works on the basis and leverages computer vision and deep learning. So to explain a little bit about how it works, so we use RGB imagery, we use a 10-second video capture on a smartphone. We throw that into our computer vision and deep learning algorithms to reconstruct that individual in 3D. And effectively then, once we've done that, we measure and we recommend on the basis of the clothing that's available on that particular site. Now we're excited as we're achieving 98% accuracy, and we've actually filed a patent to protect our technology. So I'd like to give you an idea of our user journey, of what happens. So you're on a retailer site, you click on Find Your Perfect Fit. That then takes you into our application. So it's a white label solution, which can be customized. So we have an onboarding process, which you see here, explaining the benefits as well as what the user will expect. And then we have a series of simple screens where we take some information, so your gender identity, how you'd like to be scanned, a simple checklist. And then with your permission to open your camera, we guide you through, okay, how are you going to stand and record the video that we'll take from you, how to place the phone. So you step back in front of your phone. When you hear the beep, you turn 360 degrees for about 10 seconds, no more. We upload your video, encrypt it. We take your height, your weight, your fit preferences so that we can accommodate that. And you're done. So then we have your sizing summary. So depending on the retail and the garments, as well as your measurements, so that you can then use those recommendations then to confirm a purchase and complete a transaction with confidence. So our solution has straightforward connectivity and minimal data inputs. So our application sits on a retailer website. So it's a white label solution. We connect via an API and power a web app to walk users through that process and shoppers through that process. And then behind the scenes, we have our algorithm database, effectively to reconstruct individuals, as well as a sizing product and transaction inputs to ensure that we deliver strong recommendations and suitable clothing for that particular individual. So the time for this is now, right? So more and more people, and this has been referenced actually earlier today in the session, more and more people are shopping online. There's been huge disruption and opportunity with COVID-19. We've seen players like Topshop go into administration, ASOS buying up the brands and actually emerging stronger on the one hand, and on the other hand, we've seen an acceleration in computer vision and deep learning. So things like object detection, GANs, segmentation, that enable us to do things that we can do now that we couldn't do 12, 24, 36 months ago. So behind this, we have a highly experienced team. So I'm CEO, founder of the business. I used to work for L'Oreal, Unilever, PepsiCo, consumer innovation. I get a kick out of it. My co-founder is a prof at the University of Oxford, so Phil Torr. He's an expert in computer vision and deep learning. And then alongside, we have a couple of engineers, so Diz Hong and Will, who are specialized in 3D reconstruction. And Richard is an advisor to our business, having worked for Hugo Boss and Net-a-Porter previously. So we're excited as we're getting traction with retail customers right now. So we're working with some of the customers you can see on screen. So Gymshark, Alice Brigham, Cat and Dandy. And actually from a recent evaluation, we're achieving really high levels of accuracy from their perspective. So looking at key measures like chest, waist, hip, and inseam, an average accuracy of 98%, which is fantastic. So to date, we've achieved close to £700,000 of funding through Innovate UK grants. We've had a partnership with the University of Oxford. We closed a pre-seed round about a year ago. And then we've been fortunate to be part of accelerators. One of which, of course, is the Machine Intelligence Garage, which we were part of, and to benefit from a computational resource and business mentoring perspective has been fantastic. So today, we're looking for retail pilots and partnerships. So to enable us to take our technology and make it more readily available to customers and shoppers in the UK and Europe. So we imagine a future in which everyone has access to their accurate AI aesthetic avatar to power their online shopping. So thank you.
Amazing. Thanks so much for such a great presentation, Duncan. I especially enjoyed the demonstration that you had. Again, you will see the poll coming up on the screen now. So if you'd like to get in contact with Duncan to discuss AI aesthetic more in detail, please click yes that you would be interested in engaging and learning more about their company. And in the meantime, while the poll is running, I'll introduce our last startup of the day. So last but not least, we're going to hear from Cat's AI, who are the world's first AI demand predictions as a service. I'm very happy to introduce Stephen, who is the CEO and co-founder. So thanks so much, Stephen, for joining in today, and over to you whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. Can I just do a check that you can hear me and see the screen?
Yes to both.
Excellent, right. Okay, so I'd like to start with a question, as my colleagues have also done. How well do you know your customers? Do you know them well enough to place their orders for them in advance? If you don't, you might need to talk to us. So hi, I'm Stephen. I'm the CEO of Cat's-Eye. It's a unique and new twist on the theme of demand forecasting. We look a few days ahead with new levels of agility and hyper-local accuracy. Through our presentation, you'll see how using Cat's-Eye will quickly and easily improve your business. So for expiry goods particularly, the next 7 days is when the rubber really hits the road and what makes or breaks your bottom line. Errors in your forecasting become real. At any given location, you'll be throwing away goods or disappointing customers with empty shelves. The reason for this is that things are changing very quickly underneath your existing plans. Those errors are regrettably part of the accepted cost of doing business. And this is why you need Cat's-Eye. If you see this at any of your locations, you should no longer want to accept it. Your clients and your customers don't want you to accept it. You need to be able to react to changing demand more quickly than you are currently doing. You must react to the changing influencing factors, of which there are potentially hundreds at any of your locations. Taking a very simple example, would you rely on a long-term weather forecast when planning a family picnic? I wouldn't. It makes sense to finalize plans much closer. You need to know what's likely to happen at all the relevant locations for every product, for every day. At the moment, it's just too hard. But what could you do with hyper-focused demand predictions for the next 7 days? For every location, for every product that understands every influencing factor, and they're refreshed every single day. But before we get into it, quick one about us. So this is the leadership team and my son in the middle. And we've got 100 years combined experience across technology, operations, and consultancy in small, medium, and large corporations. During the financial crisis, we really felt the high street around us struggling, and we all felt a drive to do something meaningful. And well, bingo, serendipity played its part in that 3 years ago, an ex-colleague took over a small chain of artisan bakeries. With no industry experience, he was really struggling with waste and stock out and totally reliant on his staff to make near-term decisions. So we got together and built him an algorithm, which we now call the brain, and you'll see this later. And it turned out that it was pretty accurate. So Cat's-Eye was born. So here is what we find and continue to find talking about demand planning. In the FMCG industry, it's trying to reconcile too many changing things every time they forecast. And they're trying to do it for every single location, for every single product. So statistically, we know it's beyond the human brain to be able to do that. It's even beyond complex software, and it's definitely beyond Excel. There's too much work, there's too much data, and there's just too much complexity. So that's why it's not refreshed every day. That's why it's done periodically, even though clients know it will be inaccurate. And this is the result. And this is why they need artificial intelligence, particularly machine learning. It's the only tool that can conceivably handle the complex thousands of locations and hundreds of products on a daily basis. They shouldn't beat themselves up about it, because there was previously no way to actually solve this particular problem. Luckily, the Cat's-Eye 7-day demand forecast solution doesn't just take the stress away, it gives people time back and you a platform for growth. It knows all your locations, all your products, and can effortlessly help you plan. For example, staff don't have to wait for those late orders. They can pre-prepare. Managers can tap into repeatable performance from which to grow the business. So yes, we save waste, and we protect you from stockouts, all of which is great. But for us, we feel the most valuable thing we give are the confidence to plan. Hyperlocal means understanding a location in detail for all the products. Hyperlocal demand numbers mean you can plan at your customers' locations, where it matters for you and them. To date, we have seen clients reduce the number of deliveries to supermarkets, to gain the ability to preload lorries to warehouses, and help owners and investors scale restaurant businesses through better bottom line and central oversight. Because we understand your customers' demand probably better than they themselves do, you can use Cat's Eye to suggest the most efficient orders for their and your benefit. There's an iceberg of ways to obtain the benefits. What could you do? So how could you do it? How could you get to us? And how do our clients get to it? Getting it is easy. Just plug in sales history and let the brain do its thing. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're the world's first demand predictions as a service using AI. We are designed as a retrofit solution for any system, technically a component as a service. How we do it is the hard part, what's unique and why we are so accurate. It's our secret sauce, but you don't have to worry about any of that. Plugging us in is really simple. In existing software, there's APIs, any software. So what you need to do is think of a screen where you have a future plan. Let's maybe use the short list from earlier, a production planning screen perhaps, warehouse stock plans, but maybe, or delivery plans even. The list goes on and on. The screens go on and on. Anywhere you could imagine a prediction being useful in your workflow. Our numbers can be added really very simply in days. Don't have software? We just give you the results in Excel into your email inbox, hassle-free. So, four final questions, four final asks for you, really. If you want to reduce waste, improve customer experience, and make your life easier, talk to Cat's Eye. If you want a return on investment in weeks, not months or even years, talk to Cat's Eye. If you want to make a difference next week, not next year, talk to Cat's Eye. And you guessed it, if you want to know your customers better, talk to Cat's Eye. So thank you to the Digital Catapult for their unending support. Thank you for your attention today, and we hope you found our presentation interesting, and enjoy the Fireside Chat that I believe is coming straight after us. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. That was such a good presentation. Personally love seeing your son's little cameo in your leadership team shot there. But no, thank you so much. So that was our last startup today who was showcasing. So as we've done before, if you would like to speak to Cat's Eye, please do respond to the poll, and the MI Garage team are more than happy to facilitate that introduction for you via email at a later date. So while that poll is finishing up, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to all of the startups who have taken the time to present today. There's been a lot of work that's gone into them, and they've come such a long way. And I just think they're personally very, very interesting startups that we should all be engaging with. So big kind of virtual round of applause to you guys. But moving on to the next part of the event, we will be having our Fireside Chat now. So I'm more than happy to pass over now to my colleague, Nastasha, who's going to be facilitating and moderating this. I will ask if anybody has any questions throughout this next portion of the event, please feel free to put them into the Q&A box or the chat window, and we'll see if we can find some time to address those as well. So over to you, Nastasha, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Nastasha Velasco, Innovation Partner, as mentioned before. So first of all, I just want to congratulate the amazing innovators and their pitches. Certainly very exciting to see that we can reimagine product search, that we can have omni-channel, customer direct, all channel and personalized engagement, extraordinary. Then 3D body reconstruction from any phone. Who would have thought about that, right? And then prediction as a service with AI, right? All about that. So extremely exciting. Congratulations to all the innovators. And this is just a bit of what we can see AI can do for retail and marketing. And in this Fireside, we're actually going to discuss more about this. How could AI benefit retail and marketing? We have the pleasure today to have Himesh Prak, AI industry business development from Nvidia. He's going to talk a little bit more about this. Lots of knowledge in retail and CPG, all the EMEA area. We also have Isaac Story, head of marketing of Amara, who will also bring lots of insight and from the marketing point of view. Hence, get ready because we're going to have fun. All right, so with that said, how does the panel look like? We're going to discuss a little bit about the positive experiences and opportunities that AI could offer for retail and marketing. We're also going to explore what are the challenges and the barriers that we can see. And finally, we're going to explore the future. What are some thoughts for the future and the area? Do expect that as Digital Catapult, we're going to be also positioning some questions around the ethic aspects because these matters to us. So without further ado, Isaac, Himesh, are we ready to kick it off?
Absolutely.
Please do feel free also as we be in the chat to maybe introduce a little bit more about yourself. And let's do that actually first. Himesh, do you want to share just a little bit before we start the fireside about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So Himesh Prak, I joined Nvidia and during the pandemic. I've actually had experience across the retail and CPG from a technology perspective for the last 8-9 years. And one of the interesting pieces from an Nvidia perspective is whilst we obviously produce GPUs, so graphic processing units, as a hardware component within the AI space, a significant portion of the business, 3/4 of the Nvidia population are actually software engineers. So there's a whole host of SDKs, frameworks, things like that, that startups, organizations can build applications upon. There's a lot of very innovative startups out there, and the 4 pitches that we had prior to the Fireside Chat just shows there's some very, very innovative use cases there. And by the way, Digital Catapult and the Nvidia Inception team. So Nvidia Inception is an acceleration platform for AI, data science, and high performance computing. And what it does is it basically goes to help from a go-to-market support, expertise, and technology. And we've got actually 8,500 of these AI startups globally. And along with Digital Catapult, we've been working with you for over 3 years now. And within that, we've had 50 startups who are both part of Nvidia Inception and also part of the Digital Catapult cohorts as well.
Fascinating, and thank you for sharing a bit more about you, Himesh. I couldn't have done it better. See, so Isaac, could you share please a little bit about you two, please?
Absolutely, Nastasha. This afternoon, everyone. I also wanted to say first, thank you to all the pitches. That was a really fantastic and some really exciting ideas out there. For those of you who don't know, Amara is, which I'm the head of marketing for. Amara is a UK-based international online retailer, and we work entirely in the luxury furniture and homeware market. And we currently have over 300 luxury home brands, along with our own kind of flourishing private label. And without physical stores, we were one of those lucky businesses last year and a half that saw massive growth across a very challenging time. And that's also fed into really strong growth this year, despite some of the slowdown that some retailers have experienced, especially in the second half. And for my background, I've been at Amara as head of marketing for just under a year. And prior to that, I was working for 4 years at Oka, which is another leading UK luxury furniture retailer, one with a physical presence in stores. And AI is still, a relatively new portion of the technology that we use in these sorts of businesses. So I'm really excited to kind of discuss some of the things we're doing, some of the opportunities and the challenges that it's going to bring.
Amazing. So we have a great combination of backgrounds and experiences here for our audience. So let's start then the discussion, right? So as mentioned, let's explore a little bit first the positive experiences and opportunities, right? Especially around AI and retail and marketing. I would love for any of you to share a little bit. What do you see are the biggest opportunities for AI in retail and marketing? What are those? Because everyone's talking about AI, yeah, but what are those opportunities? What is it that we see as opportunities? What are the biggest ones?
I'm happy to jump in first on that one. I mean, from a selfish perspective, I think anyone who works in digital marketing already uses AI at a massive scale. I think with Google's advanced analytics AI and advertising AI, I think people it's saving lots of time for people without having to do kind of manual matching of ad spend and ad copy and things like that. So that's something that kind of everyone's gotten used to at the moment, and it's taken a lot of the work out of that for marketers. And I think it's allowed us to kind of bring a lot of that work in-house as well. And alongside that as well, Google is doing analytics, which kind of provides business intelligence as well. But off the kind of more beaten path of that, I think we're doing smaller projects related to things like product search, which I think one of the startups today really touched on, and we're doing something along that line as well already. And that's using natural language processing, computer vision. It's kind of creating a much more fulfilling search function for customers using AI, and that accounts for a massive proportion of sales. And I think reducing the amount of zero result searches is going to really kind of improve conversion amongst their customers as well. And there is a lot more, but I won't take up too much time.
Yeah, so very interesting, right? Because you pointed out some things there, right? Simplifying in-house work, searchability, and of course the positive impact in the sales. Amesh, from your side, what are those biggest opportunities that you're seeing?
Yeah, no, I think I would absolutely agree there with Isaac. Whether customers and retailers are either in an online world or whether it's in a physical premise world, I see changes across a couple of different areas. Firstly, customer experience, right at the heart of it. From a physical retailing perspective, I'd see intelligent stores on the rise. Just here in the UK, over the last couple of weeks, we've seen announcements of frictionless stores from the likes of Tesco. We've seen Amazon launch a number of those, as well as some of the other retailers as well. So that's a very incredible new customer engagement and customer experience from a physical perspective. I think you combine technologies like computer vision and you adapt those to a typical either grocery or any other physical outlet. And Isaac referenced to it as well. On-shelf availability, very, very important. And we saw that in the pitches a little bit earlier as well. You cannot sell fresh air. So it's very, very important that the shelves have got product from that perspective. And if you translate the in-store availability question and use AI for something like the supply chain, to really being able to forecast products in advance. We've of course all seen the supply chain challenges that we're facing at the moment. Being able to have the right product in the right place at the right time is fundamental to the retail business. And then things like last mile delivery. So we've seen an evolution of that. We've seen the rise of e-commerce during the pandemic, when everybody was trying to book an online delivery slot for your groceries. Very, very challenging environment. But again, there's a lot of complexity with being able to deliver products from a retailer to the end customer as well, right? And combine that with the complexity and the cost of returns. What we're going to likely see in the future is, and actually some retailers are already looking at this, going from a shopping and then shipping model to more of a shipping as opposed to then shopping model. So actually predictive deliveries. Of course, you can caveat that with prospective higher rates of returns if a customer is not ready for a particular product, or they may not need them. But if anybody is like myself, you come back from holiday, you're very likely to put two washing loads on, and you've probably only got one load of washing powder left in the cupboard. The algorithms there actually knowing what I need better than I do is probably a really, really great experience, right? So those types of pieces of AI are really augmenting AI with human interaction. I'm sure we're going to touch on some of those possible concerns, right, of being able to combine technology with humans as we progress the chat.
All right, and actually let's follow up on that thread of the pieces of AI. Both of you have outlined very interesting opportunities of uses in different sectors of AI. Do we see AI as a technology by itself only making the change in retail and marketing, or do we see some adjacent technologies that can support AI? I'm asking this because, as you know, at Digital Catapult, we actually are very tech agnostic. We have different. The topic of today is AI, but it's always interesting exploring in the sector as we see these opportunities for the use of AI. Is there other adjacent technologies that you guys are also seeing can help even further in the use of AI?
I'd probably say, one of the leading technologies that comes to light is something like 5G. So being able to remotely deploy things such as cameras. So we mentioned the frictionless stores a little bit earlier. As you can imagine, there will be a whole host of bandwidth and connectivity requirement for that. If you're able to do that with something like 5G and adding connectivity to an edge to be able to provide those experiences, brings a whole vast array of different experiences to that. And actually taking that, you could see those types of retail experiences at something like a smart space. So at a stadium, for example, or at a festival, the ability to enable something like a pop-up store and service a festival crowd could be, just a great new possibility. Now we're out of lockdown. Those types of experiences will be, really will be something which, come next year, I'll absolutely expect there to be a rise in those types of technologies being deployed en masse.
Fantastic. So the use there of 5G may be combined with AI. Isaac, anything on your side? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, from our end, we're still even just wrapping our heads around the idea of AI and pretty much everything. But I think, if we're looking for other technologies, I think with IoT, if shipping and logistics, as it's been over the last year and a half, has been such a massive pressure point for a lot of businesses. So I think, companies that can innovate and use AI and IoT to kind of streamline that whole process and bring those technologies into the warehouses to try and minimize the costs involved and kind of make it far more streamlined. I think that's really where I see there being the most opportunity to kind of connect those two.
Interesting. And then we see this other element in the background, right? Just those companies that are able to innovate and adopt the technology as making the best of this. And let's talk a little bit about that in this area of experiences and opportunities, particularly in your companies, right? What has been the biggest game changer in terms of using AI? Can you run us through that?
So in terms of the organization, from my perspective, I talk with a number of C-suites across retail organizations, across CPG organizations. I think really, the biggest opportunity within the AI realms is really looking at it from a business operational perspective. What I will do is actually, it was mentioned a little bit earlier around recommendations and personalization. Recommendations is very, very interesting, very, very powerful tool. If you're able to offer to customers a recommendation which allows them to increase their basket size, can be very, very powerful. A 0.001% increase in recommendations to increase basket size can have significant impacts on revenue and turnover for organizations. And along with those recommendations, as you saw there in the pitch around personalization, customers really being able to have a more personalized experience, something to allow for something business and operational, like lowering the rate of returns, again, can have significant impact again on efficiency, but also on the cost element. So from a bottom line perspective, some very, very significant savings. I'll give you kind of, some examples actually of being able to use AI from our perspective. We actually do a lot of development with things like the traveling salesman problem. the traveling salesman problem is used for last mile delivery. And actually, somebody like Domino's Pizza uses that technology to be able to optimize routes. So either being able to look at the combination of lots of pizza ingredients combined with being able to deliver pizza to somebody's home at a rate so that the pizza is still warm when you get that delivery, which is a very, very complex problem. So being able to optimize those routes, and again, looking at other factors such as you could have inclement weather on a delivery route, or you could be looking to optimize the use of your fuel from that perspective. And again, your different journey times, you could have other factors such as traffic. So again, really trying to look at externalities, which you typically wouldn't have done had you not been looking at advanced machine learning or deep learning based models for those deliveries.
Great examples, and made me think of Domino Pizza too. Isaac, any example on your case?
Yeah, sure. I mean, other than the ones that I've kind of already mentioned, I think as shipping has kind of become less predictable, and when we're going to get stock in has often become harder to predict. And with a small to medium-sized company like ours, I think, with the amount of SKUs that we're trying to process every week to upload products and get stock into the hands of customers, things that we're looking at the moment is AI to help us with the sort of product image processing and the reactive marketing that we do. So in smaller teams, we're kind of limited by the manual processes that we can't really scale up. And a lot of that is around digital assets, or actually just creating the marketing that we need to kind of push those on to customers. And so we're still relying on a lot of processes for that in order to kind of categorize, manage them, edit them. And so AI platforms that we're looking at can really help us to sort of streamline and automate a lot of that. It means that we can get a lot more products onto the website each week and get it on when we have the stock for it ready to go. And I think as well, there's a lot of opportunity in AI copywriting as well, which will help with the speed of ingest for product and marketing.
Yeah, so definitely helping streamline all the process, right? And helping you guys just focus on the strategic things. All right, but not everything is about the opportunities, right? We also started to hint that there are some challenges or some barriers when we talk about adopting AI, especially in retail and marketing. I'm interested to know, from your experience and given your background, what are some of those barriers and challenges that you see in using or taking AI into retail or marketing? Maybe Hamish, can we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I spoke there about intelligent stores, for example, and Isaac also touched on the use of computer vision. So anything to do with computer vision in a public setting, of course, we've got some, great laws and legislation around things such as GDPR and the control of data. And I think, what really has been a potential challenge or barrier has been around the use of technology such as facial recognition. And actually, what we are seeing now is with things such as analytics, we're looking at analytics which don't necessarily use facial recognition. So they're using things like human pose estimation. So assigning a unique character to a person to associate that with your personal account, as opposed to storing things such as facial details. And those anonymization technologies, or using redaction, to being able to extract or remove particular things such as mosaicing of people in images or in video, really has been an enablement to actually accelerate an adoption of these technologies. And I think it really is about also being able to explain this to the layperson, to understand those technologies, that they are not invasive. And actually, I think also these need to be understood from a customer experience perspective. So really, what are the advantages of these technologies? And again, I mentioned earlier around the recommendations. Customers on an online journey, for example, those recommendation engines are actually very, very powerful. And one of the startups there a little bit earlier, being able to tailor the online experience to help you with the purchase process. So they're speaking around, I am not sure what size I am in a particular aspect of clothing, being able to have those tools to help you on that journey, and where AI actually helps with those barriers and with those challenges that we previously had. So actually, AI is an enabler to overcome some of the challenges and barriers which we actually see from AI. But again, I think that it's a time-orientated thing. What's very, very interesting is also being transparent and having the explainability of the algorithms behind some of these AI-based technologies. That's very, very important. And also highlighting the level of security and privacy. Security should be underpinning for a lot of these technologies, not only for AI, but technology across the board. Things like from a card payment perspective, fraud detection, things like that. AI plays a very, very large role within securing that environment and explaining that message to customers, whether that's retail, whether that's marketing, whether that's any industry. That's a cross-industry point of importance, is that security underpins all of these experiences.
Right, so quite interesting, right? Because we're seeing there the importance as we go into the implementation of AI, having these variables into our consideration, right? Data privacy, what's going to be the impact on that? Also, everything that has to be how we're going to explain it and make it transparent to the customers, and very important, that security around it. Now, Isaac, have you seen any challenges or barriers in also for the adoption of AI that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, definitely. I think Himesh really touched on two key things for me there as well, which is, transparency and customer experience. Some of the challenges, that we've kind of experienced at previous businesses is when there's lots of kind of exciting ideas around AI and things related to, one specific example is something like an AR or virtual room set, which I know that IKEA has done a lot in the past on. And I think a lot of money and time can be thrown behind projects that maybe, there should have been a step at the beginning where we really sort of assess, do our customers actually want it? Is it actually solving a problem for them? So I think, without that step, I think it's easy to get carried away and chase something that's exciting, but doesn't actually really solve a problem for your customers. And so that's one of the real key kind of barriers that, people need to be really aware of before they sort of go too far down one route. The other thing is obviously, the cost and the time that's required to kind of invest in a lot of these softwares before you can actually sort of see the results and see whether it actually works with your business model. So, I think some of the startups really touched on, a really quick setup and a quick return on investment. And I think some of that's really appealing to a lot of businesses at the moment. And on the transparency thing, I think, being able to see how it actually works and being able to explain it to people like myself is often actually, really critical. If something's like a black box that you really don't see what's happening on the inside, I think it can really make it hard to really, know what's going on and how to really understand how it's improving your business as well, other than just the results. But I think it's better to actually know what's going on and what's working.
All right, Isaac, a very interesting point, right? The explainability also in the business impact, right? So I really like that last word that you put, like, what are going to be the implications, right? And in general, also very interesting, the warning to that sometimes there's a lot of excitement around the technology, but also the technology is best when it actually solves a job to be done for your customer, right? That brings that value in. So very interesting challenges and barriers that both of you have identified. Very related actually to this question, it's how do you think AI has impacted the way in which people connect with retail and marketing? And I'm sorry to ask, but it's extremely related to the both things that you guys have mentioned. So can you run me a bit through this? And in this case, I'm actually going to start with you, Isaac, because I think it could be very intriguing to learn this.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. If I'm understanding you right, I mean, I think what AI has done, it's not really changed what people want. People always want something personal, and they want the right products presented to them at the right times a lot of the time. And they want results when they're searching for something as well, and they want to come quickly. So I think, even smaller things that we used to do in the past, it's just putting customers' names on things, those small touches. You did a lot in the past, and I think now, you need a little bit more than that to kind of get customers engaged. I think communicating with customers is crucial. So actually, if you're running an international business with a smaller team, I think things like AI-driven translations can really help us to actually communicate, in people's native languages to a lot more countries around the world. With the kind of product recommendation and the messaging angle, I think there's often sometimes the risk of, it's really great for us to be able to do that as much as possible, but I think there's a risk of going too far in that direction as well sometimes. And I think customers sometimes actually reject slightly, if things are slightly too prescient in their recommendations to customers, it can sometimes put them off a little bit or make them uncomfortable if the algorithms are maybe telling us more than they think we know about them. So I think to be really open with customers, but also not to be, kind of giving them too much about themselves is quite crucial.
All right, so yeah, not giving too much away, right, with it, with the technology itself. And Amesh, any thoughts around this?
Yeah, I think one of the important pieces there for sure that Isaac stressed on is not having technology just for the sake of technology. Really understanding the customer requirements is imperative. And again, it also adds to the point which Isaac mentioned around cost, because if you're putting technology in just for the sake of technology, again, that could be very, very costly. And actually what you really want is for your technology to be assessed based upon the ROI. If it is from a efficiency operational standpoint, I think one of the technologies, I guess, or experiences that's harder to, attain a monetary value on is things like some things which are less tangible, like customer experience, for example. So, the AR, VR type of technologies really actually are a halo in terms from a marketing perspective, and you actually get some really great experiences. And what I'd also say is it links into things like social media. So actually you see cult followings on social media for very kind of key experience-led technologies. So you see robots, for example, as store greeters or store welcomers, or you may have a very large store format whereby you may ask a robot greeter, could you show me where a particular product is? And actually what that means is workers within that store can actually be doing something of greater value. They could be replenishing shelves, they could be at a checkout, they could be interacting with a harder or more difficult customer experience challenge, as opposed to just purely a directional based experience. So again, that augmentation of AI-based technologies along with humans within that environment.
Yeah, so all of you have touched upon that augmentation, right, that it offers as we engage with the customer. Now, we've touched a lot upon the value to the customer and also the value to the business. As you know, in Digital Catapult, we have worked a lot in the area also of AI and the ethics around it. I'm quite interested to know, especially also in this area of challenges and barriers, what are some of those challenges you see from the ethical point of view as we put AI into use in many of these use cases that some of you have mentioned? And please try to share with us that top one, because I know there's many things that can go into effect, but if you could share that top challenge that you see from this ethical point of view, it would be great. Maybe
sorry.
No,
why not? Too keen. I mean, from my perspective, the obvious answer to that question is really data protection. And I think it's the ethical, or not the ethical, but the issue that we're really the most familiar with, at least at the moment, in marketing. And that's never really been more important. And I think as we're introducing, all of these different new data processes and processing softwares, I think that's going to invite a lot of challenges for businesses, especially if they're not familiar with them. And if the softwares are complicated, it's really key to make sure that we're really making sure that all levels, customer data is protected, especially before we actually kind of go into the process of engaging the software. There are longer term concerns around AI and bias as well, but I think that's probably my top one for you.
And Amesh, on your side?
Yeah, so I would agree with that. I think one of the important things there from a ethics perspective, again, is really about being responsible, right, across some of the areas which I shared a little bit earlier around fairness, around the transparency and explainability elements, the privacy and the security piece of it. I think also, as part of the algorithm development, so we've obviously got, a number of startups, number of retailers on the line. What's very, very important from that perspective is looking at and understanding the bias within those algorithms that are created. And it's about making sure you've got a balanced perspective within that. Being able to understand the implications of certain adoptions of algorithms or certain implementation of an algorithm. And again, I'll come back to it again, the explainability piece of it. Isaac mentioned a little bit earlier around the black box of technology. So having the explainability, being able to understand how an answer has come about is very, very important. So can you work yourself back from a particular output, right? So, what was processed in the middle and what was the input is very, very important. And one of the pieces as we advance in technology is actually some of those explainability elements could become harder to actually understand. But also when you look at things from a machine learning perspective, from a deep learning perspective, what it does is it actually gives you a percentage output, as opposed to necessarily this is a 100% answer. So actually there's some interpretation that goes into a number of these things. And actually that's the bit where, that augmentation of humans actually also helps enable some of that transparency and explainability by combining those together.
Fantastic. So thank you both actually for touching on those points. So we're coming to kind of like the closing of the panel, and I would love for the audience to learn from you some thoughts for the future, specifically in the use of AI for retail and marketing. So what does a responsible use of AI in retail and marketing looks like for you, especially as we move forward in the future?
I mean, I think from my end, we've touched on a lot of the sort of key topics around that. I think it's important for marketers to make sure they've got a really good grasp of any of the potential risks and ethics issues that could arise from using AI and the technology that they're introducing into their systems, and just kind of making sure they factor in at least some level of assessment before they implement those, rather than sort of implementing it and then doing some sort of risk assessment there. It's kind of just key to make sure that step is built in from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say, understanding that, having the risk assessment, also having a framework for how to deal with these topics as they arise. So proactively putting these policies into place, as with any other either technology-based or policy-based actions, you would have frameworks and particular procedures to go with that. So being able to try and preempt some of these things before they arise is very, very important. And I think that's very, very critical, whether you're a startup or whether you're an established organization from a retailing perspective or a marketing perspective. Very, very important to have those policies and procedures, or actually even start thinking about what those could be. And that, from a guidance perspective, from a framework perspective, now as those technologies, I guess we're in the start of adoption of some of these technologies within those environments. It's very, very important to start building from the ground, so that those policies are in place.
All right. And if those policies are in place and we are aware of how to make it responsible, in terms of the future, what do you see as the exciting future of use of AI in each of your sectors? Give us your top one, and then we'll go actually to the closing statements of the panel. Let's go with you, Isaac.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think the really exciting thing for the future is reducing returns and things like that. I think anything that's helping us to also be more sustainable in the future is really exciting for me personally. And I think all of the solutions that we're looking at, which help customers make a better decision for the products that they're choosing. There's never really been so much choice, but I think if we can reduce the amount of returns that they get and drive efficiency through that, I think that's really exciting for me as a marketer.
Yeah, and from a retail perspective, what I really do see is this increase in the number of these frictionless stores. Being able to transact for particular products that you're purchasing in a far more seamless manner without the need to either queue to go into a store or a need for a queue to go out of a store. Really are drawing upon some very, very new experiences from that perspective, from a checkout perspective. But also, I think what we'll see is that not only from a small scale, so a couple of objects that you may take from a smaller format store, the evolution of that to larger format stores, with trolley-based technologies, and then actually see the evolution and change of maybe products which you've typically gone to a typical grocery retailer and purchase things like washing powders and bulkier products. Actually, what we're going to see very, very likely is we'll see those types of products be delivered to your home, and actually, those will then be sourced from a responsible packaging perspective. You see reverse logistics being introduced as well, and sustainability is going to be underlying to this. So we obviously talked a lot about technology, but I think sustainability is going to be a real driving factor within the underlying base of technologies as well.
Super exciting. All right, so before we close with remarks, should we go through any questions by the audience, actually? Let's see. And I think Imogen will also let us know what questions do we have from the audience. Okay.
Oh yeah, there was a question earlier about the use of AI and 5G in real locations.
Mm-hmm. All right. Amesh, Isaac, any of you want to share a little bit about this?
Yeah, so I think I touched on 5G a little bit earlier, actually. So I spoke a little bit about remote locations for some of those frictionless store experiences. So festivals and festival management, for example, you could be in the middle of a field and you require some external connectivity. So being able to drive those types of experiences. I think 5G also allows you to pull against some of those technologies for things like AR or VR. So as we go into expand experiences within people's homes, and I'm sure Isaac can comment as well, is when you're looking to do some of the experiences around, say, furniture in your home, being able to use things like wireless technologies to understand whether a product may fit best in your home. Yes, you may have Wi-Fi coverage from a in-home experience, but actually as you go outside into your garden, could use those same kind of technologies for overlaying garden design, for example. Or could that go into a broader kind of construction environment as well?
Right, super interesting. Yeah, so thank you for the audience for that question. So I think that was one of the main questions that we had from the audience. So just some closing statements from the panel, Isaac and Amesh. Your advice, best tip to any startup that really wants to get into the market, either in retail or in marketing using AI. What's your top tip? What is your advice?
My tip, I think, really is that, given that retail is experiencing a huge amount of change still at the moment, there's a lot of businesses that are going to want very different things from these new technologies. So I think it's really important to be aware of, the performance of the industry, and also the business within that industry. Some will be far more interested, as we've talked about, in developing those exciting new AI technologies that are more customer experience focused. And others will be more interested in driving efficiencies and reducing costs. So I think if you're doing the customer experience angle, then I think, like Hamish said, emphasizing the halo effect of those technologies is really key.
All right, and Hamish, on your side, amazing tip also, Isaac, thank you.
Yeah, that was very good. And what I'd say is that mine was actually an extension of that. So, as we mentioned about technologies, I think security is at the heart of everything. So, for security, that could be a technology security perspective. It could be just a data provenance, data security, and data policy and governance perspective. Very, very important. And I think also, just to extend a little bit further on the customer at the front and center. Customer is very, very important. But actually, there's a whole host of innovation, the whole host of technologies out there, and actually sometimes customers don't always know what they want. So actually being able to actually foresee some of those technologies and experiences, and actually even, you know, as I mentioned earlier, around the shipping to then shopping based experiences, as we're seeing these trends within the market, it's actually taking some risk within that innovation space to actually bring something to market which hasn't been done before. You know, what the pandemic really has done is accelerated some of these experiences, be it from a physical retail perspective or an online retail perspective. So actually, you know, we are in, you know, uncharted territory from some of these experiences perspective, whether, again, as Isaac mentioned, whether it's a customer experience perspective or whether it's an efficiency perspective. It could be the supply chain, it could be last mile delivery. There's a whole host of new things which we you know, nobody's thought of right now, but we're going to be seeing those over the next 12, 18 months.
All right, so it seems like those tips go around, you know, reaping the benefits or exploring what new customer experience you can bring, the efficiencies that you can generate, how you can provide that security too, but also not being unafraid also to take some risk and make the best of this uncharted territory, right, as a startup. So amazing tips. A total pleasure to have you as panelists. Thank you so much for being today with us, and over to Imogen and Pierre.
Thank you, Nastasha. I just want to make a quick points before wrap up, but ending on a very, very positive note. We know that retail has been hit massively by COVID, but what I heard today is that, as Amish just said, it opens a field of opportunities, and I think that the struggles to access customers caused by COVID actually pushed the industry forward, but also the customers. And obviously, we will always be here to support startups and non-startups, even corporates, in figuring out those new ways. So I'm just going to conclude on this. Whether you're a startup, a corporate, an academic researcher, there is something we can do with you. So please reach out. And last call for potential partners on the MI Garage. We are up for any type of support. MS represents Nvidia, who we are partners with, and it's always a pleasure to be able to not only benefit from tangible assets, but also that kind of insights. Again, we are here to foster communities and ecosystems, and the more cross-pollination we can get and a mutual understanding we can get from big companies or big industry players to more innovators and smaller ones, the better for the industry. So thank you very much all, and over to you, Imogen.
Thank you, Pierre. Yeah, so obviously just want to say a massive, massive thank you to all the startups who have presented today, as well as obviously our panel. We're very grateful for the time that you've taken to dedicate to today, and I'm sure everybody who has participated has got something out of this, which is always great. So if you have any questions about the MI Garage or any of the startups that you've seen today, or anything Digital Catapult related, you can see my email address on the screen. Please feel free to get into contact. We can always just set up a meeting. I'd also encourage everyone to check out our social networks, as well as the MI Garage website. On the website, as we said earlier, if you're a startup looking to be on the program, you can register your interest for our next open call, which is launching on the 6th of December. And then finally, look out for any email introductions if you have specified that you were interested. And we'll also be sharing the recording of today. So feel free to share with any colleagues that you may have, friends or whatever. Just share it with amazing networks that I'm sure you have. So that's all from me. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone again, and have a lovely evening, everyone.